Hello, and welcome to Artifacts, a living archive preserving the first-person stories of avant-garde, queer, and underground culture told by those who lived it. This episode is part of our series, Gender Benders, showcasing the pioneering underground figures who transcended the boundaries of traditional gender and identity. Agosto Machado, circa 1938 to March 21, 2026, was a central figure in downtown New York performance culture. Actor, street survivor, archivist, and artist. Orphaned in Hell's Kitchen and raised in institutions, he became a street queen in his teens, surviving through improvisation and resilience. During these years, he met Marsha P. and Sylvia Rivera, and adopted the name Agosto Machado, taking the surname from the model China Machado. He soon became active in the gay liberation movement. Machado began performing in 1972 in Jackie Curtis Amerika Cleopatra, launching a long association with downtown theater and artists including John Vaccaro, Jeff Weiss, H.M. Koutoukas, Harvey Fierstein, John Jesurun, and the Hot Peaches. He obsessively preserved the photographs, flyers, costumes, and ephemera of this vanishing world, calling his practice ancestor worship. From them, he created shrine-like memorials that transformed downtown ephemera into enduring cultural history, works embraced by the art world in his last few years, collected by the Museum of Modern Art, and included in the Whitney Biennial, which opened 13 days before his passing.
I was born New Yorker. I was an orphan. I have a sixth grade education. I am trained by priests and what have you in the art of oral sex and what have you. And I was never tough enough for 40 deuce on the street. That's where I first met Sylvia, much younger than me. I worked in movie houses, and you give someone a hand job or so forth, and then you get a little older, then it's more than jerk around. You gotta suck them off. But in any case, you get to see the movie, and you're indoors. You get to see a movie, maybe fully complete in sections, and you can't complain.
We're on.
Oh.
Keep talking, but I just want to write this.
Right. Okay. Or all of us are drawn in some way. Of their immediate environment, they know somewhere very early that this isn't really the environment or space that they're supposed to be in. Mm-hmm. So they gravitate to somewhere else because they know. And the early generation of movie people, Saturday or whenever was magic time, the pure magic time. You could only go to a movie once a week, and when you did, it was going to be magic. That's where the allure, I think, of a lot of people, someplace called Hollywood. Whatever Hollywood was, everything you saw on that screen, that's what they were doing. Magic and illusion. And when you realize that there really is no Hollywood, and there's studios all over, is that it was all of the mind. There's a very magic thing about that you can create it yourself. TV is not magic. When something is special, it's like a special date, Saturday, and you only get 52 of them a year. Mm-hmm. You get to go to a movie, if that, or you get points you don't get to go. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like having sex 3 or 4 times a day. You look at the calendar, you cross out days maybe. Just like those Davis queens who would say every line along with Betty Davis and All About Eve. 2 films came at the same time, bridged 3 generations of gays. I'm talking about the reruns on TV. All About Eve, everyone could get into. It was about the theater. It was about being a flamboyant woman. It was about a younger, ambitious woman. All the characters displayed every degree of avarice, greed, need, want, love, and lust in a context of it's okay because it really hurt because they were theatrical people, and that's the way New York was. It answered a lot of needs, and so it held like today. That was New York theater, and then Sunset Boulevard captured the Hollywood story, and it's just by right, that particular times was on the cusp of the remains of that school. Because even if it doesn't have a happy ending, in my head I'll change it.
You like happy endings.
Yeah, and a happy ending doesn't have to, the light doesn't have to come on,
Right.
the stars and all that. It could be a happy ending and resolve, like they understood why they had to part. I always saw the male as my hero, and if it was John Wayne or if it was Gary Cooper or what have you, is somewhere along the line when people are seeing things generally and you don't see the color scheme, you just see this is a male and this is female, and they dress this way, is that her costumes are pretty, aren't they? I mean, she gets treated nicely, and I didn't want to do what those cowboys had to do. I didn't want to sleep under the stars in the cold. I mean, I didn't want to have to rope a cattle. Oh, I don't want to hurt those, and then you're going to brand them. I didn't want to ever do anything like that. And I didn't mind being home, security, cooking and washing for the man you love. I just think that's all right by me. Being poor and deprived just lends itself to what isn't in your immediate space, bigger than life, and you sit real close and it's there for you. And people who sung and danced, people who fell in love, people who had things more than you, like in Mildred Pierce,
Right.
It was very touching. And it showed how, she did gain materially, but she just suffered. And what did that poor girl do wrong to be punished? Every movie role and suffered every pain along with every star. You know what you were going to say. It's been done to you. You've done it to them. It's that whole wealth of experience that the movies taught you. Hollywood was in its golden moments. It's every aspect of that film, every detail of that costume, everything on that set was just right. And you appreciate it. It just enhance and help you take it home with you in your head so you could redo some of those things, wear some of those costumes, drape something the same way. The sensibility of what all of us, even though we're wearing mustache, want to get up and put lipstick on and go for a stroll in a dress and a fur. If it wasn't Halloween, or it's just to be weird. It wasn't just to be weird. It was self-expression at the time. You just expressed yourself, and it was as positive as it could be. Still in the minority, but enough of us felt free enough to get together to go out and stroll. You could pretend you're talking and just ignore them with your other sisters. With any of them, in some state of what would be considered drag or too flamboyant. Although one time I did go to a Halloween party in the Dakotas at the apartment that John and Yoko have now. It was the Robert Ryan apartment. Someone knew the daughter of Robert Ryan, and he was alive then. It was very interesting because that was like a 17-room efficiency. And there were all these rich kids who were sort of talking about socialism and democracy and things. They didn't quite understand drags or homosexuality.
Were you in drag?
Yeah, I came in a slip and a fur that Jackie loaned me that someone borrowed. Because it wasn't there, and I looked all over. I came in a nice slip and torn stockings and heels. I didn't really dress in Oriental outfits so much. I really preferred, since I had long hair anyway, I just preferred my hair down, fix the face, and I did like a dress or an evening dress. But nothing cumbersome. I'm really no nonsense. I might wear bracelets, but I'm not very good with rings, bracelets, or anything. Well, I have an ear stud, but outside of that, it gets to be too much. It's like I'm really a no-nonsense woman who essentially today in 1978 would wear Levi's and a t-shirt and sneakers. But it's not easy dressing drag and finding those shoes in a size 10 dress and all of that. But then we had time, we were freer, and somehow we made ends meet. And it's just like talking a whole lost time, but it is. And there are survivors. And sometimes if you think back, where did I ever have that energy? You go days without sleep. preparing for a ball. You're out there trying to find that dress, will it in the trash. Oh, please, I got to find something special. And generally, you had your eye out, and now and then, socially, you might go out trashing together. But it's so much easier because it can be a strain when you suddenly come across a pile on trash and you attack it together. And it's just like at any sale.
Yeah.
You may love your sister to death, but if she reached for something you might want, it's got to be grabbed. You grab more than you wanted. But you did find things. I mean, now times are such where you don't find free and easy trash the way you used to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good, though, in a way that people are more aware and how wasteful they were. I think if you're really into drag, it brings out many things. Sometimes it makes you more feminine, or you take that stereotype sexist thing of what a helpless woman. But also, well, for me, it brought out strength because I feel women can assert themselves in a certain way without being put down real harsh because they're a woman and you have to forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can't hit them. But I don't really get off on passing. I don't think that's the purpose or what have you. Whereas seems to be the whole criteria of another school of drag queens, which is okay for them, but it doesn't do anything for me. And the joke in the 60s was anyway, well, in the village, every day is Halloween, so I'm not going to dress up on Halloween. Yeah, you're gonna dress straight.
Right.
They said, oh, how unusual. Oh, they're gonna dress uptown. Or one time for Halloween we sort of did that, and we found, like in thrift shops or what have you, like polyesters, slacks, all the plastic clothes, and it's just the most hideous thing to wear. It's a difficult costume.
Right.
But it's just, I feel, well, I guess they could feel sorry for us, but I feel that we're more comfortable in our lifestyle, in our garments, and our adornment. But I think here is like plays you would see would be more about the people, but they happen to wear maybe a Japanese kimono. Mm-hmm. They happen to wear some bracelets and things, but they could still have a beard. And it wasn't particularly that they were in drag, but they were free to adorn themselves the way they wanted to, and felt that this beautifying themselves comfortably and walking around. I remember Charles Stanley. He was one of the early people too. God rest his soul. He died recently. But I remember he used to sort of feel in the mood of he's going to go out for a stroll and just adorn he had beautiful wiry hair, and maybe adorn himself with a nice cape, and just glitter his whole head, and just go for a stroll in the village. Mm-hmm. And why not? It was just like Rollerino, we'll start a little later, but used to roller skate and drag. Why not? It's poetry to me. It breaks the monotony of day-to-day living. It's of that time when people did sort of wear what they wanted to wear. I do find that now that we're going into the 80s, that things are a little more structured, and visually, if you just look in the West Village, it's that sort of macho uniform. It's so stifling because it's just as bad as anywhere else, and if you just deviate a little, I feel uncomfortable on a Saturday night strolling Christopher Street because you do get looked at. But while we're walking there, we saw some younger gays loitering, like they do at Butch Fashion doorways. And when they saw like Minette and I, that they sort of nudged each other and did one of those mimic things. And I thought, it's really too bad that they're young, but they're very stupid too, because the very people like they mock, like Marsha, are the people is why they're there.
Yeah.
And walking around Christopher Street before, police could just harass you guys just strolling.
Yeah.
And now, you can hold hands, you can kiss goodbye and all that, and it's none of their damn business. And it's just self-expression. Drag, now I'm talking about drag. The area of drag, to me, or what came out of Awful 40 and what have you, wasn't what I would call the out and out 40s or 50s drag, where you did everything to pretend or give the persona of a total woman. Well, that to me isn't what this group or what we were doing. We knew we were genital males in interpreting and expressing the woman inside of us. And whether or not we had a mustache or we bothered to shave, what have you, we adorned ourselves in such a way as to project this woman. Well, the whole Jackie Curtis trip was so magical because Jackie's in another space, but she can still relate to you, bring you. That vision is so strong as you get caught up and you get into that magic too. In fact, there's a Jackie drag. I think there's a look. Like Jackie had her own style, which a lot of people sort of got into and accepted because it wasn't a finished woman. I mean, there were runs in the stockings. Like maybe she just got away from a rapist or something. Maybe there's this, like her dress may be a little torn, the zipper might be broken. It might be held together with a safety pin. The basics, nothing overworked. And of course, Jackie started it all because Jackie discovered me. Whatever Jackie did was magic. The sensibilities, and Jackie has the strength and belief and faith in the world Jackie sees. And if you're going to partake in it, you walk into that world. And people just on the street passing happen to get little fragments of it. But one day there was a knock on my tenement door, and of course there's a million logs in a peephole, and there was a knock, and I looked through, and I saw this woman and this man, and so I opened it, and it was Jackie, which just saw this me, whatever I was wearing, some robe or something. She said, "Can you sing?" And I said, "No." She said, "Can you dance?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Can you act?" I said, "No." She said, "Would you like to be in a play?" And I said, "Yes." And so I let him, and that's how the genesis of how I got into the theater.
A story so touching, it must be told with a whip.
Oh, but that whole era of Main Victory sort of was helped change my life. I can tell you what I was wearing. We were cheerleaders at Taylor Mead High School because I think Taylor was coming that evening and Jackie wanted to add something about Taylor Mead. It was just alive. I was a cheerleader and I had a hot pink tutu with that little tutu thing all around, all fringed, and I had white leotards, and I had little ballet slippers, and I had a white Marcel wig, and a red lipstick and pen down my face. We had two little pom-poms, and if we were on TV, I would do my little pom-pom. Well, we did that section, cheer for old Taylor Mead. But in any case, Julius Novak, when he was reviewing Vain Victory, happened to mention, then these cheerleaders came out and did this grotesque, ugly dance, and his thoughts were, he saw gay people or men in drag as very negative, and that we were doing our self-hate number. Whereas I felt I was doing an all-American cheerleader. But a lot of people, their concept of when it's like a little off edge, or someone like what Sister Tui did last night, which was marvelous, someone might see it as
self-hating?
Yes. I mean, obvious, all of us were out and out women and loved a million costume changes. And I wasn't trying to fool anybody. Everybody knew Candy Darling. Jackie had just changed into a James Dean persona. A little later she went back to Grandma. Yeah. Cut his hair, wore a shirt open, and you saw the hair. When he's a woman, he seems small, a little smaller, what have you. Very attractive. When he's a male, you notice a broad shoulder. I think Jackie's Jackie, whether it's male or female. If you listen, he talks the same way.
Echoes of a flower battle against the cold hand of wind. nothing willingly relinquishes its form and condition.
But the Vain Victory trip opened more doors of fantasy and seeing other people live like I did. The things we were creating joyfully were going to be shared with other people. We did do fabulous performances. I mean, people who would practically piss in their pants because they couldn't believe that next thing was happening. Just a wonderful cast. Well, we had Candy, Jackie, Ondine for a little bit, Eric Emerson, we had Mario for a little bit, we had Holly in one of the latter stages for a little. Peter Allen played for a few of the performances. Tally Brown did a guest appearance on opening night. We have a rehearsal starting at 1. But not real rehearsals, we just sit around and talking and reading movie magazines and everything. The day would just evaporate and then we rehearsed some scene. And wouldn't it be amazing that 25 people didn't show up for this scene in rehearsal? Candy was Candy Darling. And sort of, to me, if you were going to be that image and you could, beautiful, alluring, platinum blonde that had men enthralled, just like in the movie. She did it better than anybody else and lived and acted in the style of becoming a star. Well, no, but essentially gave off that aura, whereas even she didn't have a place to sleep that night. Had to crash somewhere and only had the clothes that she had on her back. She was still very fabulous and grand. And a self-humor and awareness and intelligence.
My place tonight, fella, who is that lucky boy to be? No, don't bite, fellas, it isn't right, fellas. Is there a volunteer for me?
I went right into the Cockettes.
Oh, so you performed with the Cockettes too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There was only like 2 New Yorkers they let in because, everybody has to vote and everything. We were very lucky to get in there. There's a lot of good energies, and that's why I met Divine. Divine did one guest performance, especially she flew up from Baltimore and did like a cameo walk across the stage. And Holly did some apparent, guest things.
Oh, is that right? With the Cockettes also?
Yeah, that was the biggest hype, one of the biggest hypes of that era. I mean, all of New York, it was one of these things, all of New York was talking about
The Cockettes.
the Cockettes.
Yeah.
And as many people have been quoted, unfortunately, they opened and destroyed the legend and their myth. But the straight press gave them millions of dollars worth of free publicity because they sounded so exotic, and people like Truman Capote and Red Street were all talking like this is the most earth-shattering thing you just got to see. And then when you saw it in context of what was happening in New York, you said, but
this isn't much.
As Taylor Mead, 3 minutes into the Cockette opening night, Taylor Mead yelled out, "Bring back Jackie Curtis. Where's Jackie Curtis?" It didn't work out because they had good theatrical intentions and the energies of let's put on a show and everything was there, but they didn't refine it, and you had to in that context. Also, we mustn't forget about Jack Smith. Jack Smith is really one of the great artists of this century, and it's unfortunate that he isn't known, but Andy Warhol does believe that there's people like Duchamps and what have you, who are more of a catalyst, and they give off that light and ideas, and people pick up on it, and they carry it, refine it, or do what they have to do. Jack has a difficult personality. I respect him. He's possessed by enormous talent, and those who are so gifted are also, they have entree to that other world, or many other worlds. And sometimes when you get obsessed by a project or a play that you're doing, it takes over your whole life, and time is meaningless. And the space he had was in Soho, and it's sort of like a garbage-filled little loft where he just filmed there. And garbage piled all over, floor was broken away, and amid this garbage of cans and clutter and fabric and what have you, which was partially was left there, with his little 16 millimeter camera, he had us believe that this was the tropical jungle, and to come through the trash and walk through it. I mean, the concept is incredible. Jack Smith is like Andy Warhol or John Vaccaro, was doing like happenings before happenings became happenings. It's like non-theaters. He would say there's a play on at 8 o'clock in his loft or wherever he was living, and you showed up at 8 and you saw someone having his dinner, doing his dishes and what have you, and you didn't know that that was the theater piece. And whatever he did in X amount of time is like that was it. And people expected something else. But I mean, he did lots of things like that. And without saying, this is art, this is the theater, this is what it was going to be. And he'll play a record, a Doris Day record or something, and arrange some clutter. And may take 3 hours arranging something, but whatever you heard, whatever you saw, even if you had to stand against old tires or what have you, this was it, and he made people reconsider of what they were seeing, because most of this was just trash on the street. And Warhol really saw what Jack Smith was doing. When I said possessed by genius and talents, I mean thoroughly possessed. Like John Vaccaro can come out of his obsessions and possession with his skills and talent, but Jack Smith doesn't even make a social attempt to interrelate with other people, really. But just seeing his films, but his theater pieces, it's the raw, jagged edge of magical theater. And he's doing something he worships, like many of us, but it's beyond camp. And Susan Sontag did her whole thing on camp, of Maria Montez. Maria Montez, because she led a very exotic life.
Right.
In a beautiful climate, and she suffered of the heart, and that perhaps is a luxury, because life is hard, people have to work, and it's not so glamorous, so they don't have sunshine and tropical trees or Arabian vales and clap your hand and there's a servant ready to have food for you. It's better to suffer, I think, and learning from them too, is that they can't help being, and that they have to go through. Being the victim or what have you, you're not the perpetrator. That gives you an obstacle and lesson to grow and learn from, that you're really the bigger person. And I've always found her a goddess. Jack finds sensibilities of the Arabian Nights and her as the epitome of something beyond Hollywood's comprehension of how she happened onto this, and then even though she was thought of as a lesser movie studio and a B actress, is yet she was able to overwhelm several generations of gay sensibilities from people. Because I mean, I went around wearing veils too, and doing things. Although as I remember when I saw her films, I didn't always understand what she was saying because she spoke with that accent, but that didn't matter. But Maria Montez had an allure, and even if she had to play a bad sister and a good sister, that's okay too, because she was set in a magical environment, and that's a place you wanted to be, and you're going to take home with you, and in your own private room or what have you, you're going to drape that blanket and that sheet, and you're going to lie horizontally with your head propped, and have all the men at your feet. But Jack would really do his pieces in garbage-strewn lofts, perhaps even without electricity, because Connie had turned it off, and you'd have to be by candlelight. I mean, he was taking the essence of life and survival and creating it and making you see his vision, whereas most of these people, they wouldn't even enter a place like that. And if you were privileged enough to catch one of Jack's performances, or even get some of that energy from his film, it really, his work has changed me. There is so much freedom that it's sometimes scary. I'm, as I mentioned several times, sometimes I'm that animal in a cage and I keep shaking, and then one day the keeper opens the door and the door swings open, and most people don't go out. They stay in, and the next day the keeper locks the door again. Or you step out for a little while, and then you go back and you pull it shut yourself. But we see this, whereas Jack never goes back. I mean, he does what he does.
Have you spent much time outside the cage?
Well, I hopefully think I have.
Yeah.
But as I've said, that we're swinging back into a more conservative time, as Harvey Fierstein pointed out to me, and which is true, is like I really, I haven't really done drag, and I'll explain what drag means to me later, very much recently, but I've also noticed that my brothers and sisters don't go out even strolling in dresses anymore because the times are such, and for our own brothers and sisters to make us feel intimidated in our turf, our gay ghetto, to stroll around in a dress and be laughed at, just, I mean, really hurt. You know, he gets so obsessed by his projects and things that everything that's in it for it, and I understand it, and I really respect that. It's like, your whole life has to be for this because that's the way it is with him, and that he doesn't have room or time to sort of see another perspective. For a long time that I felt very sort of secretive about in my own little space, and when I got to meet a lot of other people.
Well, you felt secretive?
About letting someone inside my apartment or what have you, because it's like exposing yourself. But when I got to meet other people, it's like they had the kind of tchotchkes cluttered in boxes all over, like everyone else, and that gave me let me feel a little more comfortable about it, because I was always very shy. I remember one time Jack Smith came to visit me in one of the tenements I was living. That was really garbage paradise. I saved everything at that time. And to get through the door, it was a regular tenement with a bathroom and a kitchen, but to get the door partially open and let people in, I had to move boxes to move. And I used to curl up in between boxes and garbage bags to sleep. And it amazes me how I used to think that maybe something was really wrong with me. But I mean, there's no right or wrong if this is the way you wanted to live, or arrange your dresses all hung up along the walls. Because of cockroaches or what have you, had to keep things sealed in boxes and paper bags. But Jack came to visit one day. He had left a note, which is I still have preserved, and so he had to crawl over some boxes. And when he sort of saw in the dim light boxes and garbage bags and containers and everything you could ever find on the street and wonder what it was doing there, he loved it. And I said, well, excuse the disarray, but I think I'll have to clear some space so we could stand together in the living room, or maybe we could sit on. So they were essentially sort of standing but leaning or crouched on piles of magazines and newspapers and boxes, and I look inside and say, well, there's nothing breaking, you could sit on that, to find my way to the fridge to see if there was anything to drink. That was a magical afternoon. Those were the most magical times, because you immediately related when you walked into that environment that Joe Chino created, with the collage on all the walls and the ceiling of movie stars, and then with Christmas tree lights and tinsels, and it was just, even though it was a small space, magic happened there.
The altars and shrines in Agosto's apartment were first publicly exhibited at the Gordon Robichaud Gallery in 2022 and got major attention in the art world, including an exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art. In 2026, his work was included in the Whitney Biennial, but Agosto was too sick to attend the March 8th opening and passed away 13 days later.
I have my will already. I have 3 people's names on my list. But in life's journeys, I've gotten ashes of various people. And I think with Steve, I think we counted 9. But upon my passing, I'm to be immediately cremated. I'm not going to be embalmed or any of that business. It isn't necessary. I believe the body is the shell and your soul and heart. And so the 9 people who will be mixed with a little of my ashes, and we will be at a special place in the Hudson River, is Jack Smith, Marsha P. Johnson, Christine Kapp, who started the Coffee House Chronicles at La Mama, and I've been friends with 50 years, Michael Arion, who was part of the La Mama family, and John Vaccaro's Playhouse, The Ridiculous. Chris Kapp also was a member, and John Albano, one of the most charming men, who was part of John Vaccaro's Playhouse, The Victor, of The Ridiculous, and a co-director. Have we done 5?
Or 6.
5. And then we have Kevin Bradigan, we have Paul Ambrose, we have Bern Boyle, we have Jean-Claude Vasseur, and we have the very spiritual Lou Zeldas. That is 10. And it's little portions. All I need is a tablespoon of me and a tablespoon, I have enough of a tablespoon of Jack Smith, and a tablespoon of Marsha P. Johnson, and then the small portions of her mixed together into the Hudson and another place. And so I can rest happy because I have made these decisions and choices, and I trust my executors will do this.
Artifacts is a free oral histories platform. Please like, subscribe, and visit our website, www.artifacts.movie, for exclusive bonus content. If you're able, please make a tax-deductible donation at www.artifacts.movie/donate. Hit the link on screen to watch another Artifacts interview.